I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. This is who I am. This is how I am. We are fully and unavoidably responsible for who we are. There is no destiny written in the stars, only the story we write each day with each decision, each action, and each moment of truth. That is the burden of freedom, and that is the dignity of being human. And this freedom, it isn't a comfort. It brings with it three shadows: anguish, abandonment, and despair. Anguish because our choices define not just ourselves, but what we believe humans should be. Abandonment because we can no longer rely on a higher power to tell us what is good or true. Despair because we must act even without guarantees, limited only to what lies within our control. Jean Paul Sartre, a philosopher, a novelist, and a playwright. But more than that, Sartre was a conscience of a century, challenging us not just to think but to exist differently. Born in Paris 1905 and shaped by the tragedies of war and the turmoil of modernity, he gave the world a philosophy that rejected comfort, rejected easy answers, and insisted instead on freedom, responsibility, and the raw reality of being. His greatest philosophical work, Being and Nothingness, published in 1943, begins with a question as old as a thought itself: what does it mean to be? He answers not through mysticism or metaphysics, but through radical phenomenology. He defines two modes of being in itself, being for itself. Being in itself, the fixed, passive existence of things, a rock, a chair, it simply is. Being for itself, human consciousness, fluid, incomplete, defined not by what it is, but by what it is not. We human beings are this being for itself. We are the ones who introduce nothingness into the world, who negate, question, and choose. This power to say no, to imagine alternatives, is the root of freedom. And that freedom, he insists, is absolute. We are not born with a nature. There is no divine essence inscribed in us. Existence precedes essence. We first exist and only then define who we are through action. This leads to one of his most haunting claims: man is condemned to be free. Condemned because we didn't ask for this freedom, and yet we are responsible for every choice we make. Even our refusal to choose is a choice. There is no one to blame, no God to consult, no fate to hide behind, just ourselves, naked, responsible, and free. But this freedom brings with it anguish. It brings abandonment and despair. To escape this burden, many fall into bad faith. He terms it self-deception. We pretend we are fixed things. We hide behind roles. The waiter who is too much a waiter. The lover who plays a part. The soldier who says, I had no choice. All are examples of bad faith. They flee from their freedom. They lie to themselves. And then comes the other, the gaze of another person. Hell is other people, he writes in No Exit. Not because others torment us, but because they objectify us. In their look, we become a thing, a label, a judgment. In the play No Exit, three characters are trapped in a single room. There is no fire, no demons, just the eternal confrontation with one another. Each one craves validation. Each one is tormented by how they appear in the eyes of others. Hell is not punishment. Hell is the inability to escape the truth about ourselves. And then there is Nausea, his first great novel, in which the protagonist experiences a slow unraveling of the world's meaning. A tree root, a glass of beer, his own hands suddenly all seem strange, absurd, and too real. He feels the nausea of being raw, unshaped, and meaningless. Yet, through this crisis, he glimpses truth that existence just is. There is no reason, no design, but we can respond to it with freedom, with creation, and with authenticity. So, what is the core concept of being and nothingness? It is the human consciousness that is defined by freedom. We are not static beings, we are always in the act of becoming. That we are entirely responsible of who we become. There is no excuses, no default setting. We are the authors of our own lives. While the universe offers no inherent meaning, we are free to create it. He says, quote unquote, I am what I am not, and I am not what I am. His core philosophical ideas includes existence precedes essence. That is, we are not born with a fixed nature or purpose. Instead, humans exist first and define themselves later through actions. Radical freedom and responsibility. Humans are condemned to be free, meaning that we always have choices, even when it seems like we don't. This freedom brings anguish because we are entirely responsible for our actions. Bad faith, which he identifies as self deception, when individuals deny their own freedom and responsibility by acting as if they have no choice. Being for itself and being in itself. In being and nothingness, he distinguishes between these two concepts. Being itself, which is an object which is fixed and complete. Being for itself is human consciousness, which is fluid, incomplete, and defined by its freedom and capacity for negation. And the last one, the look. Other people's gaze can objectify us, turning us into an object in their world. This creates a tension between our self-perception and how others see us. Sartre was the central figure in existentialist philosophy, a movement emphasizing individual freedom, authentic existence, responsibility and choice, alienation and absurdity. Being and Nothingness is a foundational text divided into 4 parts. Part 1, The Problem of Nothingness. He critiques traditional metaphysics for ignoring nothingness as a real and meaningful part of being. Nothingness is not a thing, but a lack, a gap, a non-being that only conscious being can grasp. Human consciousness creates nothingness. This is the source of our freedom. Part 2, Being for itself. The mode of being conscious. It is fluid, not self-identical. It is what it is, not always reaching towards what it is not yet. He defines consciousness as nothingness that transcends itself, always reaching out towards the world and towards possibilities. Consciousness is not a substance, it is a relation, a lack, and a project. To be conscious is to be free, because there is always distance between what we are and what we can become. Humans are condemned to be free. We can never escape our freedom and responsibilities. Even not choosing is a form of choice. There is no essential human nature, only what we make ourselves through choices. In part 3, he talks about being for others. Our consciousness is not isolated. We are aware of others and how they see us. When someone looks at you, they objectify you. You become something in their world, an object. This causes conflict, alienation, and shame. Sartre uses the famous example of someone being caught spying through a keyhole. As soon as they're seen, they feel shame because they have become an object in others' eye. This tension is inescapable. Relationships with others are fraught with attempts to dominate or to be dominated, leading to existential conflict. In part 4, he talks of bad faith, which is a central concept, which he labels as self-deception. When we lie to ourselves to escape the anxiety of freedom. People adopt social roles or identities to avoid the burden of responsibility. Bad faith is paradoxical. It requires a consciousness that knows the truth yet hides it from itself, thus rejecting the idea of unified self or stable human beings. Being and nothingness is a monumental exploration of what it means to be human. He does not offer comfort, but a vision of human existence where we are free, but with that comes anguish. We are relational, but with that comes conflict and shame. We are responsible, and there is no destiny to fall back on. Yet, for Sartre, this also means that we are the authors of our own lives, capable of authentic existence if we choose to face our freedom directly. One of my favorite lines from the book, quote unquote, is: "We do not know what we want, and yet we are responsible for what we are. That is a fact." A powerful reminder that even in confusion or indecision, we are still the authors of our life.